Okay, hello and welcome everybody. I hope you can hear me here at the school, and I hope that the video is recording okay. This is a great example of how we're all going to just be so flexible and patient this year, and I so appreciate you guys giving us that grace as we do everything for the first time. The school's been here for 35 years approximately, and we've probably had 35 parent information nights, but never one quite like this. And I think that's going to be the theme of our year is all new protocols and new events, and just really communicating and reaching out to each other for help when we get frustrated or we're not sure about something. So that is my beginning speech, but now I'll go back and say, hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome again. I'm brand new to administration this year, and most of you got a lovely email telling you a little bit about my background. But I've been a parent here for 5 years, so luckily I get known a lot of you already. I'm also Montessori trained at the early childhood level, and I worked at Woodland Montessori for about 5 years. So many of the elementary 1 kids, I already know them from preschool and kindergarten, and have gotten to know all the wonderful families that we have here. And boy, we have amazing families. So thank you guys for trusting us with your children and helping to make our community so wonderful. We have some awesome teachers this year. I was so excited to see who was coming back. The only reason I took the job was because I knew this teaching team was like a dream. So you guys know David, maybe you've seen him around. I think he's been here since 2001. So he's our elementary 2 teacher, grades 4, 5, and 6. If you have an elementary 2 student, I'm sure they're already telling you David stories. My daughter sure does all the time. And then we have a wonderful dream team in elementary 1, Heather and Harris. Heather has also been here for a very long time and has put her heart and soul into several different roles on campus. She's been an elementary 1 teacher, elementary 2, and she had this lovely administration role for 3 years before me. And she's still kind of my guru in the background, giving me advice and helping me through things too. So luckily we haven't lost any of her wisdom there. And Harris is new-ish, right? Third year at Kalispell Montessori, and 4th year being in a Montessori classroom. And 2nd year is lead. Harris is amazing, and I'm sure if you have an elementary 1 kid, your parents are already telling Harris stories, because he's really quite popular around here. So we're really happy to have all of you guys. We have a new president of the board this year. If you guys don't know that we're a nonprofit and we're run by a board of directors, Erin Rankin has stepped up, and she is our president. She's not with us today because she's out of town, but she wanted to welcome everybody and thank you for your contributions. She's going to be putting together maybe a short video about how you could help if you're interested in being a part of the board, if you're interested in being on a fundraising committee, if you're interested in helping plan for our school and make sure that we're here for 40 more years. Please keep an eye out for what she shares, because we need all the help we can get. I'm not going to go too in depth to our reopening safety guidelines, because I feel like I've been bombarding you guys with information all summer. Please know that I am meeting with the county health department, the hospital, the superintendents of other school districts in the Flathead every week. And so when things change, I usually know right away or very shortly. So if it feels like I'm giving you new information, just know that's because I'm getting new information and because everybody's shifting and adjusting to try to be as safe as we can. There's, just live updates on what things are changing at the hospital level, caseload through the community, and testing capacity, all that good stuff. If you're ever curious about how things are going and what new information is out there, shoot me an email or give me a call, and I'd be happy to relay some of that information. And then we'll have a chance tonight, after everybody else has spoken briefly, to answer what your big questions are. If you have something that you just are still unsure about with our reopening plans, just raise your hand. And the last thing I wanted to talk about before I pass the mic to Heather is our Save the Dates calendar that went out. So in your parent packet, hopefully you guys got a lovely packet full of 162 forms that we carefully put together for you. If you haven't turned in your forms, if you could do that right away, that would be really helpful. I know we just gave them to you guys, but they give us so much useful information that we need right from the get-go. One of my former students. So definitely get those forms back to us. I also sent out the weekly bulletin today with your invoices for September. If you did not get a bulletin, I probably don't have your email address right. So keep that in mind. Go home, check out your email. And if you didn't get something, give me a call or something so I can get that fixed right away. In that packet was the Save the Dates form. It was pink. And you'll notice there was just so many things that we put in italics for now. Our plan has been, even with this event tonight, to run it by our COVID safety committee and make sure that it was within safety guidelines to have this many people together and any extra precautions that we should take to make sure it was safe. So we're going to be doing that with all of our events. Any field trips, any fundraisers that we normally do. So that's again where you can just give us some grace as we take a little extra time to find out how we can best still offer those wonderful experiences for your children this year. Okay, Heather. 2 H names.
Ooh, it's great. So many things in my hands. Hi guys, how are you? It's good to see you guys. We've just loved seeing your children this week in elementary 1 and 2. Luckily I got to be in both classrooms so far this week, and it's just been such a blast getting to know them. Today I'm going to talk to you about just some protocols that we have here at school and how you can support your child through that, because one of the biggest parts of Montessori and fostering that independence is the importance of that parent-teacher-child partnership and how we're all active participants. And so we can certainly be there to guide them here at school, and you're there to guide them at home. And your children show up in both areas as active participants, and we all expect that and support them in taking charge of their own learning and just becoming responsible for everything that they do with our guidance and support. So the first thing I want to talk about is drop-off. Part of that's really important is just some mindfulness about being on time. We all have some days that don't go quite as planned, but and sometimes we have things at home. I know right now with my girls have some things that kind of go awry in the morning, and I try to check in with them about, gosh, what could we do differently to make sure we get out on time tomorrow? In fact, we're picking out clothes tonight because there were some outfit snafus this morning with my daughters. And so as much as you can get them in on that planning, and when I make mistakes in the morning and I didn't plan something, I'm sure to just be really humble about that as much as possible after all the frustrations and say, gosh, I really wish I would have done this. I think I'll do this tonight. And I sort of think aloud in front of them and admit, gosh, I made a mistake, but that's okay because I can learn from it and I can plan and be prepared for tomorrow and try again. So as much as you guys can, help them get to school on time, to really get here to be part of not just starting at 8:30 with stretches, but getting here to even have a little bit of time to socialize with their friends, to check in with them because they're excited to see them. That way, when we do clap them in to come to stretches, they have already done some of that socializing and they're ready to then switch their focus to some mindfulness of the body, stretching out, getting physical and ready for their day that's going to take place inside the building. So as much as you can help be partners in that, we really appreciate that. It's so important. And as you know, we do stretch and run every day as a whole community, and that's just one of those habit building things. A lot of our students end up becoming kids who are active and physically fit, and often many of them runners at the middle school and the high school, and some of them even in college or participating in other sports. And even if it's just a routine for the rest of their lives, that they just know, gosh, it's good to stretch and move my body, we're all supporting them in that as well. Excuse me, in that as well. Some of the drop-off stuff besides just that being on time and the morning stuff is that we do have before care in the morning, and whether they're getting dropped off at 7:30 to 8 o'clock for that early care or at 8:15, you've probably noticed that we've been doing some screenings as some of our new protocols. So we're asking them, how are you feeling today, making sure that they don't have any symptoms that we would need to look into further, as far as a fever, or they've had a headache or upset tummy or any of that. If they've been around anybody who's been asked to quarantine or has tested positive for COVID, and we're taking their temperatures in the morning. It seems like a lot, but it's really pretty short and sweet, and even by today everybody was really used to it and coming along, and we're getting more used to it. So we're going to continue checking in just as an extra safety precaution to make sure that we can all be here at school for as much as possible. That's our goal, is to all be able to be here, because I don't know about you guys, but I sure missed being here together in the spring, and we know we're all excited to be here. So that's our goal, is to stay in school together, learning here. And the last thing I'll just mention is communication with teachers. I love talking to you guys, and I'll talk to you whether it's about your child or not, but we want you guys to come to us. Our doors are always open. We are available to you, again, as part of that partnership to help your child learn and grow, and as community members, that we just get to live here in community together and support the growth of everybody and just that relationship. So you can definitely talk to us. You'll see always at least one or two adults out at check-in in the morning. You can check in with us, a quick check-in there. We're all out here after school to make sure that your kids get home in the right cars with the safe adults that are picking them up. And we can also have quick check-ins with you there. And if you need more time to talk to us, maybe there's a concern that's come up, or you just have questions about what's going on in the class, or your child has mentioned something to you, we are happy to make appointments for longer times, whether it's a phone conversation or setting up a meeting. Yay! Or setting up a meeting of some sort with you. You can call the school and leave us a message. Some of you have our cell phones already, and just sort of our disclaimer on that, if we've given you our cell phone, we don't check our cell phones usually during the day because we're trying to focus on your kids or squeeze in a quick lunch break, but we will try to get back to you as quickly as we can, whether it's through cell phone or email. And we all have email addresses with our first names at KalispellMontessori.com. So mine's just Heather at KalispellMontessori.com, and it's the same for these guys here.
Not David.
Oh, not David?
I'm David C. We had two Davids when we got our emails.
Well, are you Montessori Dave at Gmail too? You're not doing that one?
Not for the new Google Suite, no.
Sorry, I stand corrected. You can get a hold of Harris, Sarah, and Heather at KalispellMontessori.com, or David C. for Cummings at Montessori.com. And that's it. We're happy again to just be partners with you and community members with you, and we hope when you see us out in public, when your kid's totally shocked that we are real human beings and don't live at the school, we'll still say hi to them and wave, and we hope that you'll say hi to us too. And thanks for being a part of our community. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Well, again, my name is Harris. I am co-teacher alongside Heather in the E1 classroom. It's been a great first 2 days of the school year. It feels really good to be back in the classroom after distance learning the last 3 months of last year. I'm going to talk a little bit more about fostering independence, and I really think that starts at home, and it can totally start with your child packing their own lunch. I think every kid at this school is ready for it, and that's a great opportunity to start talking about healthy eating habits, putting some protein in your lunch so you can have a sustainable energy source throughout the day. Both classrooms, we do a snack in the morning, usually around 10 to 11 a.m., and then we do lunch around noon, and then in the afternoon, our E1 class gets a snack when we come outside at 3:15. And David, do you guys do an afternoon snack, right? Oh.
We haven't talked about that, no.
Sorry, we haven't talked about that. But your child packing their own lunch every day and putting snacks in lunchbox, it's just an opportunity for them to start thinking I got to put food in my tummy, and I can do that all on my own. And I think it's a great opportunity to start that. I'm an independent kid, and we're going to keep pushing that same stuff throughout the day at school. They get plenty of opportunities to be independent. It's one of the reasons I love teaching here, and one of the reasons I love Montessori. We do guide them, of course, but we're going to work on fostering independence as much as possible. If your child has a concern or brings up a conflict or something that happened during the day, it's bound to happen. We want you to encourage your child to, we want you to encourage using the same strategies we use at school. So that's just going to involve them taking some more responsibility. Again, fostering that independence. So, of course, validate their feelings, and then we want you to ask them, like, what did they do in the situation? If they had a conflict, what were they in control of, and what could they have done? And if they didn't do anything, that's all right. But maybe ask them questions rather than telling them what they could have done. Ask them what could they have done next time, or what can they do next time, or what can you do tomorrow? Can you ask this child you're having a conflict with and say, hey, what you did the other day made me feel this way, and I'd appreciate it if we did something different next time. So we do that stuff all day long at school, and if we can get on the same page to where you're doing that at home and following through with them, it just makes that behavior change and that whole strategy work a lot smoother. Heather talked a lot about drop-off, but just in case to remind everybody, early drop-off is from 7:30 to 8 a.m., and that rate is $8.50 an hour, correct?
We just charge for the half hour, but yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and that's all I have for you. Thank you all for coming.
Good. Yes, I'm David. This is the beginning of my 20th year, and I just want to share 3 things with you. One of them is remote learning, and we spent a lot of time last spring figuring things out, and spent a lot of time, even more time over the summer, revamping what we can do. Our goal, of course, is to be in school all the time, but that's not going to be possible for everybody, as we discovered yesterday. I didn't even get to come to school yesterday. And we're going to all find little hiccups like this, and we're going to try to be as seamless as we can, but we've already put a lot of effort into making sure that our students have a binder that they can take with them and have work at home if they need to, because there are going to be situations where maybe a child needs to be at home if a family member has to quarantine or they have to quarantine, but they're not actually sick. So we want to make sure that they can continue education as seamlessly as possible. We are officially set up with Google Classrooms, so we have the ability to do meetings with students. We have the ability for them to submit work online, and we're going to continue to utilize those things in the classroom. And it's going to take a while, because we're going to do as much as we can at the beginning of the year to train the students how to use that. It was a little challenging to do that remotely last year, and hopefully we can do that in person in the classroom before a situation arises where they all of a sudden need to be working from home and don't know how to do that. So that's our goal. The second thing, remind me what the second thing is. Ravenwood, yes, it's going to be a little earlier this year. We're going to start Ravenwood right in October 1st. Is it actually the 1st or the week of the 1st?
Thursday, October 1st.
Okay, Thursday, October 1st. E2 will be on Thursdays again, and E1 will be on Fridays. And we'll be doing that for 5 weeks this fall. And then we are looking for fundraising for the spring. We currently don't have funding for it, but Aaron's going to be working on fundraisers for that, and whatever commitment we can get to that will depend on whether we have it in the spring. If we don't, we will figure something out to continue outdoor education, because that's something we believe in firmly here, especially with the whole COVID situation. The more we're outside learning, the better we all are. And the final thing is the overnights or field trips. And we just really have to rethink how we do a lot of these field trips. And it's important for us as a community and as students to have these bonding times together, to go do events outside, out in the community. But as Sarah said, we need to make sure that we are thinking about how to do this in a safe way for our kids and for our family members, and for the community at large out there. That being said, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we get to continue having these fun events that are traditions as part of our community. They're just going to look a little different. So, where the E2 is not going to be doing an overnight, a lot of students maybe saw on the board yesterday, what is the non-overnight overnight? And it is, we're going to be doing some outings for 2 days, but we just won't have the sleepover component to it. So that'll at least make it a little easier. And our goal is to continue the traditions that we've had in the past. Like last spring, we didn't get to do our spring trip. That's supposed to be a 3-day, 2-day overnight, and we didn't get to do it. And I still haven't wrapped my brain around fully how can we do something that's similar to that this spring, but at least we have a few months to work on that before that happens. Our fall trip is going to be just in a couple of weeks, so we're in hurry-up mode to make sure we can get everything arranged, and so far it's looking good. But just to let you know that, again, we will be running that through our committee and making sure that what we're proposing looks good on, not just on paper, but in reality. And that's it. Oh, one other thing that didn't get probably put into a bulletin and just sort of came up today is pickup. Drop-off looks a little different. We all come and kind of drop off at different times, but pickup tends to be a time when we're arriving all at the same time more frequently. So we're going to try and have E1 pick up closer to the basketball court, and E2 is going to pick up closer to the north side of the school, sort of where the library entrance is, and that's technically a handicapped parking spot, but we're just going to be moving people through, so they're not going to be permanently parking there, just to avoid bottlenecking people, and of course people who have kids in E1 and E2, but that's where we're going to be so we can find each other in the right spots. Now that's it. Back to you, Sarah.
All right, thank you guys for all that awesome information. I just want to reiterate, normally this would be a time when we would be so happy to serve you guys a meal and spend time visiting and connecting as a community. Thanks for those of you who turned in the survey in your parent packet so that we can be creative on coming up with other ways where we can just get together and bond. That's been one of the biggest values to me since I joined this community, is just getting to know other parents who value education and put their children first. So we will keep trying to do that this year. You're welcome to stay and visit outside a little bit. Thank you for keeping your masks on when you're close in another person's space. That's exactly what we ask the children to do. Go ahead and raise your hand if you have any questions about how this school year will work or what our plans are. Oh, no questions, so now I get to talk to you about volunteer hours. I just thought of it. Most of you know we require volunteer hours every year. We love having parents come in and help in the classroom. This year we did lower it from 18 hours down to 10. We still need your help. We lowered it because we know we can't have parents coming in and reading with the kids this fall. We know we may not need as many parents chaperoning field trips. There may not be quite as many opportunities, but let me tell you, as stepping into this role, I've already seen firsthand how vital it is, the parents that have come in and cut some tree limbs or organized our library. That saves manpower that the teachers, literally I saw David choosing between scraping weeds off the basketball court or setting up his classroom for your kids. And let me tell you, you want him setting up using his time that way. So if you can come in and do some outside yard work this fall, we would love to have you. Just give me an email. I'll tell you when a good time would be. We need people to take recycling. Shoot me an email if you can do that on a regular basis. I'll just reach out to you. Any other ways that you can think of, let me know, and I'll help facilitate that volunteer time. Anybody thought of any questions now? Jo Beth?
How much do you need to raise for Ravenwood in the spring?
That is a good question. It's a considerable cost.
Could you repeat it for the microphone?
Oh, yes, I'll repeat it for the microphone and for people at home. She asked how much we need to raise to have a Ravenwood program happen this spring, and I would give it a ballpark of around $5,000 as a community for another 5-week session. It is a cost that they try to make as reasonable as possible for families, and they even adjust based on our need and the fact that we're a nonprofit organization. But they have highly trained specialist teachers who are giving us their full day also. So it is an expense that in the past we've been able to pull together and make it happen. And we would so love to be able to offer it again if we can do that.
Can I mention something about Ravenwood?
Yeah, here's Heather.
I just want to mention too, I know Ravenwood seems like, oh, my kid's getting to play outside or do some exploring, but the really awesome thing that they do, they've been with us for so many years. I mean, even before we did this day-long program, they would come and do snowshoeing with us in the winter, or they would do like daytime field trips with us. But when they're getting ready to gear up for this program, they not only do planning and scheduling with Sarah as the administrator, but they come to us, the teachers, and have a meeting session with us. And they say, okay, what are the needs of your children? What does your curriculum look like this year? How can we cross those things and connect this and make this work for your students? And it's different for E1 and it's different for E2. And we give them specific, of course, confidential and not necessarily naming names, although sometimes things come up in these confidential discussions, but it's very much about, gosh, what are the class dynamics? Do we have some kids that need some real big gross motor movement, or some students who are having a hard time focusing, or do we have students with special needs? And how can we meet that and facilitate that within nature as an educational environment? And how can we cross things over into the classroom? And they will look at our cultural curriculum, our language curriculum, our math, and incorporate and cross over as much as they can just to help your students grow in that special way. So it might seem sometimes like, oh, we're just spending some time outside, but the care and the planning that is put in behind the scenes is just some of the coolest that I've seen and been a part of as an educator. And I really appreciate it, not only for my students, but for my own kids. And I can't even tell you how many times Ravenwood came up when we were camping this summer or on a hike this summer, and how much I've heard that from my daughter's father when he's been taking them out in the woods and stuff. So it's stuff that's going to carry with them and that they're going to remember, and going to be deep inside just that love and care of the world around us. So I just wanted to kind of mention that if that's a cause that you're looking to support. We also do take parent chaperones. I don't know what those numbers will look like, but it is a really cool way to spend your time. And if any of you are interested in being a part of that as a chaperone, I'm sure that opportunity will arise, whether it's this year or in the coming years.
It will arise in next week's Wednesday bulletin. I will be calling for volunteers to come and help. Again, our group size is so small. As long as you come and wear a mask, you're welcome to come join us for Ravenwood, and we'd love to have your help. Any other questions? Yes, Kara? Samantha.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I'll get there.
Yeah, no worries. I've only been here 2 days.
Yeah.
How many students are studying remotely, and is it possible if we go on trips that our kids could opt into that for those times?
So this was a question from Samantha about how many students are choosing remote learning, and how a family might be able to choose that for a short period of time if they were on vacation or something like that. And I do think we want to be as flexible as we can be. And I think that we also have to really give a lot of respect to the teachers. Their flexibility is being stretched to its utmost this year. So what we don't want is it to be a completely different routine every week. You know, this week we have 8 people on Zoom instead of 4 because grandma's in town and we just want to keep them home. Lots of notice ahead of time. I'll be sending out an email at the end of each month just to see if anybody has had a change in their circumstances and maybe they feel like they need to choose remote learning for the following month. So if it's a trip that you are really committed to and you let us know well ahead of time, I think we'll be able to adjust and meet those needs. Right now we have 4 students, but that can change too. So
We
that.
can also create packets for them to take with them if that's an option.
Yeah, Heather's saying just being able to send them with their binder that they have their current work on and that they know how to do fairly independently, or creating a special packet for that time period too. I'm going to let David speak to that because he's probably more of an expert.
I just want to add a little bit to that. In normal times, when people had family trips are family trips. I mean, when you go see somebody back, if you go back east or whatever you do for a family trip, typically that's because you want to hang out with your family. And when people ask me, well, what can I do? I say, well, I'll ask them, if they're an elementary 2 student, take a really good book, read. If you want to do a journal about what your events are. That's a really great way to remember your trip, but it's also a great way to keep up with writing and spelling and things like that. So I just encourage, if you are focused on a family trip, focus on the family while you're on that trip. So don't stress out about whether they're missing out on a couple of days of academics. Your family is important too. So that's what a family trip should be like. If you want to, go beyond that, we can certainly have discussions about that, but focus on your family.
Woohoo!
Any other questions? Okay, well, I hope you all know how to get a hold of me if that changes in the coming days or weeks. I'm sure that it will come up, and we do still want to have an open door in spirit policy. Everybody's been wonderful about wearing a mask when they come in the building, so I'm right there if you need to drop off a paperwork or a check or just have a quick chat. I'll be there, and the teachers will be there too. Thank you guys, and we'll be in touch. Have a great night.